We are back for another video, and it's round 2 of the UTR PTT in Portugal. And I have to say, this is quite possibly one of the most ridiculous matches that I've ever played in my life. It was a 4-hour battle, and I ended up saving a match point. And I was battling a bit of everything: the conditions, the wind, the light, fatigue, and a very tough opponent. So let's get into the video. My opponent today was Lawrence Bataljin. Apologies if I've butchered that name, I have no idea how to say it. He's ranked around 1200 ATP, so I knew that this one was going to be a bit of a battle. So just to set the scene a little bit, we'd been waiting around all day, rain delays, and we finally got on around 4 PM. And the conditions at this stage were pretty horrendous. You can probably hear it on the camera. The wind was ridiculous. The ball was moving so much, it was really difficult to play aggressive because I had to play with so much margin. Most of the time just aiming pretty much down the middle and then letting the wind do its thing. Early on, I wanted to set the tone that I was going to be really disciplined, and I just tried to constantly pressure my opponent, using heavy shape on the forehand and the backhand side. I knew that he wasn't going to give me anything. In the first few games, he barely missed the ball, and he was making it very difficult for me to attack. He was just neutralizing me constantly. And the wind was actually blowing into that far left corner, so it made it really difficult for me to control my backhand. I was always on the back foot, so I was trying to keep it off that side as much as possible. Eventually, I was using my slice as well to keep the ball short and make sure he had to hit up. You could just see here that the ball was moving so much. You think that the ball would be in the right place, and then all of a sudden it would just shift. So I had to be really on it with my footwork, keeping it light and not getting set too early. And one thing that I was trying to do as much as I could was take the ball early, because I knew that I couldn't be as accurate because the wind was just blowing the ball all over the place. I was trying to go bigger into bigger areas of the court, so a lot more margin. Again, my opponent was going to be thriving on my errors, so I wanted to keep them down as much as possible, but try as hard not to get drawn into a dogfight, which is pretty much what this became. So I went a break up early, 2-love, and then my opponent managed to get it back to 2-all. And I was just getting so many chances in games to go ahead, gain points, break points, but I was just finding it really difficult to get over the line. I think I had a game point or a break point in the first 5 games of the set. I was having to be so patient with these high backhands, just ripping it back cross or even down the middle, just waiting for that opportunity to get back onto my forehand. I knew that that was something that I could really hurt my opponent with, using the height, the heaviness of the ball, and then also putting pressure on by taking up more position over on the inside out, inside in forehand. And yeah, I did shank quite a lot of backhands. I'm not going to lie about that. These conditions were optimal for a single-handed shank backhand. So this sort of situation happens so many times in games where I would hit a decent heavy forehand and then just be completely neutralized. The wind would take the ball so deep in the court and I would be almost touching the back fence. And yeah, these conditions were just super tricky. I was trying to be as aggressive as I could. But I guess the main thing here that I was looking to do was just be as mentally tough as possible. I knew that the conditions were going to play a huge part in mentally wearing us both down. So it was almost like if I got frustrated, I didn't want to show it, just had to keep battling. Even though sometimes the level of tennis didn't feel great at all, it was just what the conditions were allowing us to do. So at this point in the match, I'd already been a break-up. I was pretty frustrated that I hadn't made the most of that opportunity, and now I was a breakdown, but that's just tennis. I knew that my opponent wasn't serving me off the court, so I could make as many returns as possible, put as much pressure on doing that, and then work my way into the points. And it worked. I managed to get the break back, and now we're at 4-all. I think by this time we'd pretty much been battling for about an hour. There was so much footage of this match to go through. I don't know what was more exhausting, playing it or editing it. So 4-all, 15-all, this was the time to lock in and put some pressure on my opponent. So I tried to step it up a gear, stay a little bit closer to the baseline, try and get my forehand involved as much as I could during this game. I knew that this was a good time to send a bit of a message. You can see me getting a little bit of a pump on there. That's just to make sure my energy stays high, that I'm mentally really focusing, because I know how important these games are to win. So 5-4, 30-all, not gonna lie, I was a bit tight at this moment. I knew that this was a really good chance to take the set and put a load of pressure on. At this point, we'd been playing for well over an hour, and honestly, I just didn't want all of that effort to go to waste, but my opponent ended up stepping up on a short ball, putting it away, and now we're at 5-all in another absolute battle of a game. In the 5-all game, my opponent was just absolutely rock solid. The wind was starting to pick up, conditions were starting to get a lot worse, but at 6-5, found myself at 30-all, feeling good, feeling like this time I could go after it a little bit more. So 6-5, break point to take this into a tie break. I was still pretty nervous here, not gonna lie, but I was feeling like I found my 70% that I could just do for the whole point, and I was gonna try and let the pressure and the situation get to my opponent and just be as tough as I could. I ended up getting extremely lucky on this point. I actually think that that ball was out, but again, that's just part of the game. The calls can go pretty much either way, and they can actually happen at really bad times. So I got the mini break, feeling good, 2-1 up, ready to try and put some more pressure on my opponent. But in this point, I just felt like I overplayed just a little bit and tried to force it. I didn't stay as disciplined as I would have liked to. These matches are so tough, you can't afford to switch off for a second or else you lose a point, and that could mean losing a game or even the set. I mean, this point was just ridiculous. It was so frustrating to play as well, knowing that my opponent had actually played a really good point and used the conditions to his advantage. So 6-5 down, set point. And what was actually pretty nuts is it actually started raining in the middle of this rally and the court became really slippy. I don't think you can really see it on the camera. But then we went into about a 45-minute rain delay. We weren't even sure that we were going to step back on court and finish the match. It was raining so heavy that we just thought we were pretty much done for the day and we were all ready to get in a taxi and go home. But I guess because of the wind, it dried in like half an hour. So it was really tough because I think that we both pretty much switched off mentally, and then we had to step back on the court 45 minutes later and start set 2. And I'll be honest, by this stage, the wind had got even worse. But that wasn't our biggest problem. It was about 6:30 and it was starting to get darker, and we knew that the lights at these courts weren't amazing, and soon it was going to become really difficult to see the ball. And as well as the wind and everything else, this match was just going to become a real battle. I'm not going to lie, I remember walking back onto the court after the 45-minute rain delay, just thinking to myself, I'm not sure if I have it in me to win this match. I know that I can, but physically being able to push my body for another 2.5 hours, I honestly wasn't sure. I mean, I've been training hard and I do all the right things, eating right, recovering, but then I guess I just said to myself that I'm just going to go out there and do what I can. Sounds really cliche, but just play each point at a time, not think too far ahead, don't get worried about things, and just try to enjoy the challenge of playing in the wind, the conditions, being fatigued, playing a really tough opponent with a very tricky game style. And what did also help before the match, I nailed a coffee and about 30 dates, which really got the engines firing. With a few uncharacteristic errors from my opponent, I managed to get break early on in the second set. And I remember thinking to myself, this is a really good opportunity just to get some momentum. If I could keep my first serve percentage high, then I could conserve a little bit of energy, be a bit more efficient, and hopefully gear up for a third set. So got the double break, really felt like the momentum was with me. My confidence was high, I was starting to hit a few more winners and go after it a little bit more. But I was also wary that I knew my opponent wouldn't go away. He'd be sticking in there and always fighting, so I was wary of that. I was going to ride out the momentum, obviously make the most of it. So with a very solid game for my opponent, he got one of the breaks back, but I remember thinking at the time that it would actually probably be better if I broke and ended up serving first in the third set. Obviously, I would have liked to have held, but it actually worked out better for me to have got broken and then break serve to win the set. Starting serving in a third set is always a good thing just to get your momentum going. Heading into the third set, I knew this was going to be a battle, so I was going to have to leave it all out there and just give it everything I could. I'll tell you one thing for free, the rallies were definitely not getting shorter. Honestly, I remember the feeling after that rally. We'd gone well over 30 shots and my legs were pretty gassed. I was trying my best to keep aggressive and keep the points as short as I could, keep my opponent moving and keep myself moving forward. But it was just very difficult when my opponent was just neutralizing me constantly, especially on that side. That's where the wind was blowing into more, so it made it even harder to be aggressive. So I had my chance in that game to break, unfortunately didn't take it, and then found myself under pressure on my own service game, facing a break point. And honestly, by this stage, fatigue was starting to set in. I felt myself getting a little bit frustrated, but I was trying my best to keep my head, keep focused, and just stay battling. I know these matches can change very quickly. I guess all I could do was just keep fighting. My opponent wasn't really hitting me off the court, so I guess this match was becoming mine to win or lose. Frustratingly, with that shank, I got broken. and I was now 4-2 down. My opponent had a very solid hold, but I just wanted to keep fighting. I felt that this match definitely wasn't over. Although I was fatigued, I was tired, I felt like I had a lot more to give, and I felt like I deserved more from this match, weirdly. We'd been playing for over 3 hours at this point. I was having electrolytes, energy gels, bananas at the change of ends, just to try and get my energy up and get me through this match. And here was another chance to get even in the scoreline. Another 30-all on my opponent's serve, another chance. And with a bit of fortune, I managed to get the break back. But then, unfortunately, gave away another stupid service game. I got broken to love, and now I was at 5-4. My opponent was serving for the match, but I wasn't going to be put away that easily. I knew that if I could make my opponent play as many balls as possible, make him step up and try and hit winners or be aggressive, I knew that that was something that he might not be as comfortable doing, and it also might be a little bit of a change-up. So I decided to play with not a lot of pace and see what happened. You can probably hear at this point the wind was really picking up, and it was also starting to get really dark. It was difficult for both of us to see. You can actually see that sometimes the ball kind of catches us out as it moves through the light. There was one light that worked really well, and then two that didn't really work at all. So the ball kept coming in and out of the darkness, so it was kind of catching us out a little bit. So after about 3.5 hours, it was match point. I was complaining about a call that happened at 30-all. The ball was actually out, but these things happen. I guess we all get frustrated, and this is all just part of it. I guess that one of the most difficult things to accept is that people make mistakes. The umpires make mistakes, even at the most crucial stages in matches where it might even cost you the match. And after 3.5 hours of battling and you're fatigued mentally, physically, it becomes really easy to get snappy and agitated by small things. But I was going to try and channel that energy into just fighting and sticking in this rally as best I could. It was my opponent's match point. I knew the pressure, I knew the situation, so my goal was just to not give anything away that was going to be cheap, and basically just be annoying, make as many balls as possible. And my opponent actually ended up forcing it. He missed the ball wide. We're back at deuce, and I felt like now was the time to press. If I could use my forehand, put a bit of pressure on, I could turn this game around. I'm not going to lie, after that game, I just felt this wave of relief. I'd saved the match point, I was back to 5-all, played a really solid service game at 5-all, and was now at 6-5, pressuring my opponent's serve, knowing that the worst case scenario was a tiebreak. And to be honest, after 3.5 hours, I was pretty knackered by this stage. I was actually quite relaxed, weirdly. Like, I really wanted to win. But I think because I was going through these pressure situations over and over again, I'd almost got really used to it, especially in the conditions. And weirdly, at this stage of the match, I probably felt the most comfortable I'd felt for about 3 hours. So with a pretty ridiculous pass, my opponent brought us into a tiebreak. I guess my number one goal here was to commit to my first serve as much as I could. I knew that that was going to be a deciding factor, my first serve percentage. By this time, the lights and the wind had got so bad we could actually barely see the ball, and it was moving so much in the air that I kind of wanted to avoid the baseline rallies. I wanted to try and get the rallies over with quickly, but obviously that's a lot easier said than done. It's weird because during this match I felt like the level was really scrappy, it was all over the place, but watching it back, considering the conditions, I actually think the level of the match was pretty high. I think that's the crazy thing about tennis. The conditions, the matchups play such an important role, and it's not always about playing your best tennis, it's just using what you have on the day and almost just accepting it. I mean, just look at that wind. It wasn't great news for my backhand. By this point, it was starting to get ridiculous. I mean, it was almost unplayable in my opinion, especially with the light, but we were so close to getting over the line. I remember thinking at 3-all, it was almost like a, don't worry how it looks, just get across the line, do anything to win. So I got the mini break, me serving, went big down the tee, one of my best serves, forced an error and then threw in a double fault, probably the worst time. But I couldn't get too hung up about it, had to just accept it and move on. I'm not gonna lie, I was tight at 5-all, but I hit a decent return, the wind took it and then managed to get into the net. And the wind took this ball so much, the smash was swirling all over the place, but I managed to put it away. I remember thinking here, wanting to avoid the double fault as much as possible, so I kicked my first serve in, and the ball actually moved a lot, so it's quite a good decision. Then wanted to get into a rally and not give away any mistakes. And then this happened. A net cord and a flick backhand winner cross court to finish the match, and a big pump. Not the way I was expecting that match to finish, if I'm honest, but I was obviously very happy it did. Credit to my opponent for putting in such a big fight, making it so difficult. I'd like to say a big thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Join me next time for more tennis content.